So how did you guys meet?
It's really funny, actually. Like, I was not into him at first. He used to shoot spitwads at me in Spanish class, which is like so junior high. But then one night I was brushing out my hair when I got home, and I found this spitwad, but it was really a note, and it said, "What's up?" And I was like, that is so cute. And then I liked him.
Hey, Ethan, I made something for you.
Can't wait.
Here it is.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I can't make them stay. At least that's what people say. That's what people say. My ex-man brought his new girlfriend. She's like, oh my God, but I'm just going to shake. And to the fella over there with the hella good hair, won't you come on over, baby? We can shake, shake, shake. Yeah. Oh, because the player's going to play. And the hater's going to hate. Baby, I'm just going to shake. I shake it off. Hoo. I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Wow, Shake It Off AI Ethan's version.
I thought it was good. That was really good.
It was very accurate to you singing Taylor Swift.
I liked it.
Yeah.
This is a big day for us, and a day that I have a feeling we have some listeners listening to us for the first time, because we're diving deep. We're going into the movies of Taylor Swift, the actress Taylor Swift. You excited?
No, because I watched the movies that she's in, and
okay, I think we should all we should all disclose our Swiftie status before we discuss all of this. I went to the Eras Tour twice. I've seen Taylor Swift live 4 times. Ethan?
I went to the Eras Tour. I became a fan during the pandemic, and now I'm a pretty big Swiftie. Pretty big.
I am a Swiftie. I have not seen Taylor Swift live. I have seen the majority of her concert films, of which there are 12. I have seen most of them. I have heard all of her albums. My son and daughter love dancing to her. I am a Swiftie.
Swifties welcome. We got to get her a girl in EGOT somehow.
She has a lot of ways to go. And
I know.
This is her initial filmography. Oh boy.
Now, I want to make it clear, we're not coming at this in a place of mockery. We are big Swifties.
We want the best for her. We really
and
want
I
the
want to
best for
say
her.
something about her acting style at the end of this, because I have a hypothesis. Okay?
And I want to say, as someone who has been a Swiftie since probably 2011, I think, Fearless Speak Now is like my entry way to Taylor, because we're born months apart. So I feel like we're very aligned on so many things. So I just want Taylor to succeed. Because if Taylor succeeds, we all succeed.
And there's no, we'll get into this. It's not about will she succeed, because she is the most powerful human being in the world right now. She has succeeded. And if the question that we are posing is Taylor Swift a good actress? I want to come back to that question at the end of this. But first, this is I Need to See That, a podcast about movies. I'm Eli.
I'm Caroline.
I'm Ethan.
And before we get into Taylor Swift, we wanted to talk about some movie news that happened this week, which is there is a rumor that the new James Bond is Aaron Taylor Johnson. Ethan and Caroline, how do you feel about that?
He was in Anna Karenina, right?
He was in Kick-Ass.
He was in Bullet Train. He was in The Avengers.
Those aren't movies I know him for.
He was in that movie where he played John Lennon that his wife directed.
Yeah.
Nowhere Boy, Nowhere Man.
He's Craven the Hunter in the Craven and the Hunter trailers.
These are still none of the. I have not hit a single movie that I've seen yet.
Caroline, host of a movie podcast.
I
Wait, Caroline, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so I have to disclose, much like I'm a Swiftie, I've not really seen many James Bond films. So I think when I try to watch a James Bond movie, they're always boring. I've never been able. If I'm going to watch a James Bond movie, I'm going to watch Austin Powers.
Ethan, thoughts before I talk for the next 30 minutes straight?
I disagree, Caroline. I think that you need to. Have you seen the Daniel Craig movies?
I've seen Goldfinger, and I think I saw that in like 6th grade. I think that's the only one I've really watched. All of.
You should. Okay, well, we'll do a James Bond thing and we'll rank them then. But I thought Craig was phenomenal. But we're talking about Aaron Taylor Johnson. It is fine. It's fine. I can see it. Of course, he's a handsome British man. He's been kind of gunning for a version of this role with some of the roles he's taken on recently. I think it's fine. I am more interested that they didn't choose a director first and let the director pick which Bond they were going to see and which sort of angle of a Bond movie they wanted to make. I also think that not that every recasting or new casting has to be diverse in any way, but I think they just missed an opportunity to do something interesting, whether that was more diversity or the same type of diversity. Aaron Taylor Johnson to me is more of the same, and I will see every Bond movie for the rest of my life, but they missed an opportunity to be interesting, and there were guys on the board that were interesting.
Yeah, Regé-Jean Page, my guy, my Bridgerton man.
Page, Henry Golding. Just Google like handsome British men, and half of them are not white. And again, it's not about like white versus not white, but there's something to me about Aaron Taylor Johnson that feels more of the same. He feels Daniel Craig-esque in how he looks and how he's built and how he talks. And I think that the best part of Bond is when it gets to reinvent itself. So it's disappointing to me a little bit that there might be less of a reinvention. And again, more importantly, that they didn't pick a director. They didn't let a director say, this is the angle we're going with, and this is the Bond that fits my vision for it. Eli, go ahead.
I'm going to need you to cut me off at some point because I can talk for so
Thank
long
you.
on
So
this
Taylor
subject.
Swift movies were really...
How much time are we giving you, Eli?
Put 2 minutes on the clock, Bob.
Last February, I broke my leg. I broke my fibula and my tibia. That's it. I broke my fibula and my tibia in my left leg. I broke it playing tag with my son. Yada yada yada. Eli's old. Ha ha ha. But I was bedridden for a couple months, and I spend my time watching every single James Bond movie in order. So this is fresh for me. I have seen every single one. You can ask me any question about them. I am ready for it.
What's the first name of the character whose last name is Galore?
Yeah, okay, it's Pussy. It's Pussy, Ethan. It's Pussy.
Oh, I
It's
was wondering.
Pussy.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's Pussy galore.
What is Denise Richards' character's name in her movie?
Oh, don't ask me that. No,
No,
I don't
it's
think
something
James Bond
Christmas.
knows that.
It's
What?
something Christmas.
It's like
right?
Dr.
Yeah.
Christmas Tree.
Yeah, Dr.
So-
Christmas Tree.
My
Nuclear
favorite. So,
physicist.
to address your question, you said, why didn't they pick a director first? Because it's not a director genre. It is a producer's genre. It is a broccoli production. It's never, ever, ever been about the director in the history of this series. Yes, when Daniel Craig was cast, they went for a different tone, which I totally get. But I argue, because people ask me who your favorite James Bond is. And it's a hard thing to answer because objectively, the best James Bond movies are the Daniel Craig movies. But I argue those are not James Bond movies. Those are Jason Bourne movies. Those are a completely different genre of movies than your Sean Connerys or your Roger Moores. for the record, my favorite Bond, not including Daniel Craig, because I don't count those as Bond movies, is On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is the George Lazenby one. Which, if you haven't seen that, is a movie that has a beginning, middle, and end, which a lot of these movies do not have. James Bond falls in love. I'm going to spoil this movie from 1969. James Bond falls in love. He then goes on a spy mission where he actually plays a spy, not just a person who says they're a spy and then says, my name is James Bond, I'm a spy. He actually plays a different character. He pretends to be this other person. He goes to the ski shack where there are all of these women being hypnotized. He escapes that. He escapes Blofeld. He marries this person he meets in the beginning who he falls in love with. And right before the credits play, she gets shot and dies. It is a sad ending, and it is a beautifully made movie. A lot of this other movies is schlock. And to Caroline's point, I love every single James Bond movie. But in the history, there are 3 movies that feature a hour-long underwater fight scene. And when you write an underwater fight scene, you're writing it being like, yeah, and then they swim, and then they cut the oxygen mask. Ooh, that's going to look cool. But then when it's done, it is super fucking slow. And it's really, really boring to watch because you are underwater and everything is really slow when you're underwater.
Are you dragging James Cameron right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm dragging James Cameron. And so you have these different eras of Bond movie. You have the Connery horny movies. You have the Roger Moore funny movies. You have the Timothy Dalton I don't have a personality movies.
Serious movies.
You have the Pierce Brosnan, hey, let's have an invisible car drive through an ice castle movies, which are just fun. And then you have the Daniel Craig, Jason Bourne movies. So my question is, what do you do with an Aaron Taylor Johnson? And to me, there are 2 options. Option 1, you make like a John Wick stunt fest. You take everything that we learned from John Wick, just like they did with the Jason Bourne movies and put them with Daniel Craig's Bond. You take everything you learned from the John Wicks or the Nobodies and you just make this, or even The Raid, get the director of The Raid to do it if you need, and just have the stunt fest James Bond movie. That'd be really cool. My other option, which I'm more excited about, is what if you got Edgar Wright? What if you got Edgar Wright to make a 1960s James Bond movie that takes place in the 60s, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson as James Bond, and make it super cheesy and campy, just like the 60s movies used to be?
So that was the rumor associated with Nolan, that Nolan had pitched doing a reboot starting in the 60s, which I think would have been incredible.
Yeah.
And Eli, I agree with you on, like, the past Bond movies were Jason Bourne movies starring James Bond, but that to me is the best part of James Bond, is that it's been able to reinvent itself sort of in response to what the action is of the time. Like the Pierce Brosnan stuff is pure 90s explosion movies, and you're right, John Wick is sort of the popular type of action movie now. I see Aaron Johnson in all of those things. He's a very malleable face.
Yep.
I just still wish that there was something that I was a little more excited about, because it felt like an opportunity to get excited about something. I will see it. If they announced Edgar Wright, this would move to the top of my list of most excited movies for whatever year it came out. But that to me, and especially in the Daniel Craig years, having what's his name, Kate Winslet's ex-husband, direct them.
Sam Mendes.
He had vision. He had
real
vision,
but you don't think of Skyfall as a Sam Mendes movie. That's what I mean by I don't think it's a director's medium.
But yes, of course, because it's a James Bond movie, but he had vision for those movies, and it matched with the tone that Craig was able to give. I just would love, I understand that it's a broccoli production, but maybe add some vision from a director first before casting your guy. I don't know.
You like broccoli, but you want to add some garlic. I got you.
I was trying to get there, but I couldn't figure out how.
My favorite example of what you just said is Moonraker, where they were like, Star Wars came out, we need to do something. Put Bond in space, Moonraker.
Right.
That movie rules.
It doesn't always work, but when it does, it's super special. And I just hope Aaron Taylor Johnson's their guy and he's great, but I saw Crazy Rich Asians and like, make that guy Bond. That guy's so charming.
See, I wanted it to be Dev Patel.
I can't wait to see
Can't wait for Monkey Man.
How pumped are you for Monkey Man? That's my James Bond.
Okay, but I want to know, who then do we think is going to do the song? I get more excited about the James Bond songs. Like,
oh, what a great question. And I think I have the perfect answer. Let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3.
Taylor Swift. Yeah.
But she can't act in it. We don't want her in this movie because
this could be her vehicle for best original song.
Let's get into it. Let's get into Taylor Swift. And obviously we have to talk a little bit about the music in order to get to her as an artist. But I have a question. Taylor Swift is the most powerful human being in the world right now.
Correct. Besides Beyonce.
I think she's more powerful than Beyonce right now. I think she is her own thing.
Not a contest anymore.
Okay, but I think with Cowboy Carter coming out next Friday, I think two things can be, one can be prime minister and one can be president.
Yeah, and to me, it's not about the music. And yes, I'm excited about Cowboy Carter, but it's not about the music. It's everything. It's the publicity machine that is behind Taylor Swift. Here's what I'm going to say. So Love Story and You Belong With Me come out in 2008, right? And my question is, when did she go from a star to becoming a superstar to becoming a megastar? And I think what happened is in 2008, those albums come out. She becomes essentially linked with Disney stars. Like she pops up in the Hannah Montana movie. She pops up in the Jonas Brothers live movie. In 2009, she wins at the VMAs and she is interrupted by Kanye West.
Yep.
Ethan, do you remember what Kanye West said when he interrupted her?
Something that I said in my AI version of myself pretty recently, actually. I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. Time.
I think that started a PR machine that has not stopped through the years.
Do you all remember where you were when that happened?
What month was it?
It was August 2009. I was in my dorm room. I remember I was watching it on my little TV and I was like, wait, is this happening? And then I had to go to Twitter to confirm that happened. It was a wild thing because you remember Beyonce's face. She was like, why are you doing this? It was such, and then she had to bring her back out later. It was, I don't know. It was when the VMAs were still appointment television and things were still happening.
So that happens. Like I said, she pops up in Hannah Montana, the movie. And what happens in 2010? A little movie by the name of Valentine's Day comes out. And I think it's important to note at the same time, Taylor Swift is dating another Taylor Lautner, which I think also kickstarts the PR machine.
Watching that movie and even the bloopers in it, it did make me think, oh, wow, was she the most famous person on the planet even during this movie 14 years ago?
And I think the answer is yes.
That's
I think
what
she absolutely was.
Too.
So Valentine's Day, like I said, came out in 2010, directed by Gary Marshall, starring, buckle up people, Julia Roberts, Jamie Foxx, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, Kathy Bates, Bradley Cooper, Patrick Dempsey, Topher Grace, Jennifer Garner, Queen Latifah, George Lopez, Taylor Lautner, Shirley MacLaine, Ashton Kutcher. What is this movie? And Taylor Swift. Oh, and of course Hector Elizondo. Can't forget him.
Are we talking about these movies yet?
We gonna talk about Valentine's Day?
Go into it. Let's go into Valentine's Day. We all rewatched this movie this week. How did that go for y'all?
I think my favorite plot line is Eric Dane and Bradley Cooper. The line of the film for me was, "I'm gay and I'm gonna play."
pretty good.
Caroline, I think that a big part of our friendship, we've been friends for a decade now, a big part of our friendship has been talking about rom-coms and particularly holiday rom-coms, in particular, Love Actually and The Holiday. And we talk about this a lot. And I love Love Actually. It is an amazing movie. I go to bat for that all the time. And I completely understand how somebody would say, hey, let's just do Love Actually, but at a different holiday. Great pitch. Totally understood. Not 1 second of this movie works. It is a horrible movie. Not one storyline is interesting. Not one character is interesting. And all it made me think was that Love Actually should not work, but it does. And Love Actually is a miracle. And Valentine's Day sucks. It's so bad.
Okay, I hear that. I see that. But as someone who loves the Gary Marshall cinematic universe, from Pretty Woman to Runaway Bride to Princess Diaries to Valentine's Day, I still kind of loved it.
You just named 3 fantastic movies, like top of the genre movies, and then a total stinker. Just a total stinker. Everything that Love Actually is able to get out of you emotionally and make you actually care about these multiple storylines, not one story in Valentine's Day made me at all interested in those characters.
I will say what is the most fascinating thing, bringing up Taylor Swift specifically, is how they let the 13 thing really become a part of the movie. If you know the lore of Taylor Swift, it's that 13.
Taylor Swift's favorite number is 13.
Yeah,
right?
and it's her lucky number. She was born.
I am a Swiftie.
She was born December 13th, 1989. And it was fascinating because actually this was my first time seeing Valentine's Day. But I love Today Is a Fairy Tale. That I think is a great
song.
Great song. And I bought it on iTunes for $1.29 when it came out. And I thought it was so fascinating how they let that like sink into the movie, which then made me go, is this an Easter egg? This is how she warps your brain. Because then I had to think, is this connected to something?
But that's why I thought she was the most famous person on the planet 14 years ago, because they let Taylor Swift Easter eggs into this movie. That was an ensemble piece that she was playing a dumb girl in, but they still prioritized her.
Okay, so I saw Valentine's Day in theaters with my now wife, and I had a good time. I recognize it as a bad movie. I had a good time watching it. When I think of Valentine's Day now, I think of one thing, and that is Taylor Swift holding a giant teddy bear.
Yes.
That is an image that sticks with me. And I want to remember that as we continue to talk through these movies, that when I think back to this movie, the one thing I remember, I just read the list of stars who are in this movie. The one thing I remember about this movie is Taylor Swift. Go ahead, Caroline.
I also remember Julia Roberts in a military uniform in the military. That I think was like also a wild. Okay, do you want to know how much she got paid in this movie?
Is this the stat you wanted to talk about? Yes.
She made $11,000 a second for her screen time.
That's about as much as we pay Ethan to be on this podcast, though.
That's how much we pay AI Ethan.
This movie shouldn't work, and it doesn't. And Love Actually shouldn't work, and it does.
I would like to point out one important thing before we move on. One, it won a few Teen Choice Awards in 2010, including Best Romantic Comedy. But one specific winner I want to call out was 2010 Teen Choice Awards. Best Breakout Female went to Taylor Swift. One of her, I believe, her only acting win.
Most
the 2010 Teen Choice Awards for
person in the planet.
And also, we had to thank this movie for Back to December. One of her greatest songs of all time.
That'll up my Letterboxd score from 1 to 1.5 stars.
Look, we're all actors. We studied Meisner. We know Strasberg. We read Uta Hagen. I've walked Sharna Halpern's dogs. I've drinking wine out of the skull of Del Close. I know acting, and I want to talk about Caroline's face. I want to talk about Taylor Swift's acting for a second. Because I noticed something in Valentine's Day that stretches throughout all of the movies, except maybe the next one we're going to talk about, the Lorax, where it's just a vocal performance. Where I think even as early as Valentine's Day, Taylor Swift was selling out huge arenas, stadiums. She was a big deal. And she was used to acting out and singing her vocals to the back of the house of a jam-packed stadium. And when you're acting on film, you can't really show your face acting like an opera singer where you are over-emoting and trying to show your face. I don't know if that's going to translate into the audio, but I'm doing the over-emoting thing with my face, where you're trying to show drama with your face to the back of the audience, but you don't need to do that on a filmed medium. And I think that she has a hard time toning it down. Does that make sense?
It does. I also wonder if it's just impossible to not see Taylor Swift when you see her on screen. I know that other music people have had successful acting careers, but as good of an actor as she is, I still am like, oh, that's Lady Gaga pretending to be Italian and ordering hits on her husband. Yeah, I just don't know if she will ever be able to be seen as anyone besides Taylor Swift. Elvis wasn't. Michael Jackson wasn't.
Yeah.
Beyonce, Dream. We'll come back to the other musicians who starred in movies, because I think that's an interesting topic. But in 2012, the album Red comes out, which I think really shot her into probably
All-timer.
superstardom at that point. Also in 2012, a movie came out called The Lorax. Ethan and Caroline, you rewatched The Lorax this week. What are your thoughts?
Boring.
It was fine.
It's fine.
The cast of The Lorax, Zac Efron, Danny DeVito, Ed Helms, Betty White, Rob Riggle, Nassim Pedrad, and of course Taylor Swift. I didn't hate it. It was boring. You're right. Well, so growing up, I used to imagine being a director one day. That didn't work out. And I used to imagine making a live action Lorax movie starring Danny DeVito. Like, this was like 12-year-old Eli thinking these things. So when the Lorax got announced with Danny DeVito, I was like, this is perfection. This is what I've always wanted. And then they were like, also starring Taylor Swift. And I was like, okay, so it's going to be one of those like Shark Tales movies where the gimmick is that they had celebrities do the voices. And then I watched it and I'm like, oh, I guess the Lorax is a really short story that doesn't translate well to film. So you have to add all of these different elements.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever read The Better Butter book?
No.
It's a Dr. Seuss. It's a Dr. Seuss story, but it's about like war and like people nuking each other because one of them had one side of the wall butters bread with the bread up, and the other butters bread with the bread down. So they go to like straight up nuclear war against each other. I want to see that movie. That has a full story. I don't know about the Lorax as a story. I also like the joke, not the joke, but the real life thing where they sold the rights of the Lorax to like a car company for commercials, which goes against the story of the Lorax.
That's incredible. I know I've read, basically because of The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers, they're not allowed to do any more live action Dr. Seuss movies.
That's the movie where Mike Myers plays our friend Oliver, right?
Yeah. It's actually, it helps transition into us talking about cats and a few, but
So, yeah, do you, Eli, you're a parent. I'm going to be a parent soon. I watched this and thought, oh, God, if this is the type of movie I'm going to have to watch with children. Because I'm sure children loved this movie. I don't know if you showed your kids this one, but it's probably a pretty enjoyable movie for them. Like, there must be a type of animated movie where you as an adult go, I am so enthralled by this. I'm really in on what this movie's selling. And then there must be movies like, I think, The Lorax, where you go, I wish I could be doing anything else right now.
Yeah. So my daughter is 2, and she has watched the movie Turning Red 20 times this week. I've watched the movie Turning Red so many times, and I have not gotten sick of it once. I think that's an incredible movie. I think I texted both of you that I think it might be my favorite Pixar movie right now.
It's really good.
And then my son George, when he was that age, he would do the same, but with the live-action Woody the Woodpecker movie, which made me want to stab my eyeballs out. So yeah, it's a fine line. I'd say my parenting advice is be careful what you show your kids. Side tangent, my wife and I like to say like, oh, what movies did we watch growing up? And then whenever we put it on, it's like the most problematic movie ever, and we have to turn it off and put on Trolls again. But yeah, it's a fine line between a bad movie and a good movie, and you have to find the ones that you're okay watching 30,000 times in a week.
Noted.
But I will say the Lorax did win some awards, and it was nominated for a Kids' Choice Award for Favorite Voice from an Animated Movie, Taylor Swift as Audrey. Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
Most famous person in the world.
And also, tough thing to talk about Nickelodeon this week.
Oh yeah, that documentary came out. I haven't watched it yet.
I say watch it in one day because you don't want to sit with those emotions for more than one day. It's sort of messed up thinking about our childhoods a lot this week.
In 2014, a small, tiny little album comes out called 1989, which is
Heard of it?
Flawless friggin' album.
Perfect pop out.
That same year, 2014, a movie comes out called The Giver.
With flaws.
Tell me about The Giver, Ethan. Did you watch it this week?
I did. I remember enjoying this book a lot as a kid. It was a great book. And I even remembered as I was watching it going, oh, right. That's totally why I enjoyed it as a kid and why some books are not filmable, because it felt so obvious and elementary and uninteresting of a movie and a point that the movie was trying to make. No one was quite good in it, acting wise, and it just made me wish that only people read the book.
The Giver is from 2014, directed by Philip Noyce. IMDb says, in a seemingly perfect community without war, pain, suffering, differences, or choices, a young boy is chosen to learn from an elderly man the true pain and pleasure of the real world. Starring Jeff Bridges, Meryl Streep, Alexander Skarsgård, Katie Holmes, and somebody named Taylor Swift as Rosemary. Do you know who else was a big fan of the book? Jeff Bridges.
I read this.
IMDb trivia says he's been trying to make that movie for years and years and years. In fact, he has a home video somewhere of his dad Lloyd Bridges playing the role of the Giver, and his whole family acting in it. Like it's like a home movie he made. I want to see that.
I want that.
I know.
Yeah, we didn't need this movie.
We didn't need the movie. Taylor Swift was cast in it because producers saw her in concert and put her in it.
Yeah.
Did you watch this movie, Caroline?
I didn't rewatch it, but I saw it when it originally came out. And it was fine. I love the book. Lois Lowry. If there's anyone we love more in like elementary school books, it's Lois Lowry. She wrote that. What else did she write? Number of the Stars, of course. All right, Tammy, calm down. She wrote Number of the Stars, The Giver. Did she write anything else that we read? I think those are the big two.
Those are the two.
Yeah. So I
don't read books.
You don't read books? This is
I watch movies.
It's not a book podcast.
This is not a book podcast. I need to read that.
But yeah, I agree with Ethan. It was one that it's a story that kind of sticks with you, kind of like Bridge to Terabithia, and from that like era of childhood, that it didn't live up to those memories of reading it as a kid.
The Giver was nominated for a People's Choice Award in 2015, favorite dramatic movie, and it won a Golden Trailer Award.
Ooh.
What a cool award to win. Taylor Swift, unfortunately, not nominated for her very small role in this movie. All right, let's fast forward to 2019. Are you ready?
This is the big one. This is the most important one of them all.
We're talking Cats. Directed by Tom Hooper, starring James Corden, Judi Dench. What an insult. What's up, Judi Dench? James Corden, Judi Dench, Idris Elba, a bunch of assholes, and then Taylor Swift. And of course, Jason Derulo. Can I do that?
Jason Derulo.
Jason Derulo.
By the way, I have never seen a more annoying performance than Jason Derulo. That movie, like, I didn't know anything about this guy, and then I watched this movie and I'm like, shut the fuck up, Jason Derulo.
Oh, yeah, there's a whole
Shut
rabbit
up,
hole.
Rum Tub Tugger. And of course, if you're not familiar with Cats, it's a movie. It's about cats. That's the movie. That's the plot of this movie. How do you feel about Cats the musical, Ethan and Caroline?
I hate it, but I also dislike Andrew Lloyd Webber for the most part.
The thing about Cats is it's the same for me as something like Madam Web, which is when you know that you are watching a horrible movie and it's clear to you, everyone has said this movie is horrible, and you go in with the expectation of I'm going to enjoy the train wreck that will be done in front of me. There is nothing more enjoyable. And I had so much fun watching Cats. This is her, because it's so bad, it is her most enjoyable movie by far out of all of these.
Yeah, it was the last movie I saw in theaters before the pandemic.
What a good one to pick.
I like that it's become a Rocky Horror Picture style cult film. It plays at midnight at movie houses, and it is, to Ethan's point, so much fun to watch. And when I think back of Cats, the first thing I think of is Taylor Swift in it. The second thing is James Corden doing whatever he's doing. But Taylor Swift is memorable in her, 10 minutes of airtime?
The thing that I always think about with Cats is the milk alcohol? Is it milk? Is it cum? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I think about the fact that Tom Hooper made the directorial choice to direct it to scale from the perspective of the cats.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable.
Hey,
the
Ethan,
whole movie.
Tom Hooper just texted me. It's cum. It was cum.
I knew it.
We knew
Yeah,
it.
he just texted me.
And also, Judi Dench has hands, human hands.
And if you ever think, I really want to see Idris Elba full body as a cat, you will get to see that in the movie Cats.
Yeah. I do love Skimbleshanks. I do. That is maybe the most enjoyable part of Cats for me. When he tap dances on the train and on the table.
In 1983, Sean Connery came back to James Bond to be in a movie called Never Say Never Again, where he played old Bond, who was already retired, and he's forced to come out. I really wish Idris Elba got cast as an old Bond who came out of retirement to fight. That's my pitch for new Bond. But too late, Eli.
That's a good idea.
I know it's a good idea. Tell the broccoli.
Write that spec.
But you could
broccoli,
only
I got
really
some soy sauce for you.
You could really only do it for like one movie. Like they would say,
just one movie.
We're going to do one movie and then we're going to go reboot it again. That's a great idea.
Yeah. That's very fun.
Idris Elba is old Bond. And by the way, that one movie I said, Never Say Never Again, not a broccoli production. It's one of the only Bonds before they died because it was it's its own thing. Yeah. It's not canon.
That and the original Casino Royale.
Yeah. Where your favorite James Bond, Woody Allen. So in 2000, in 2020, the movie Cats was nominated for a Kids' Choice Award. Favorite movie actress to Taylor Swift.
That's camp.
And finally, in 2022, this was a doozy. Amsterdam, directed by David O. Russell of Screaming at George Clooney fame. In the 1930s, three friends witness a murder, are framed for it, and uncover one of the most outrageous plots in American history, that plot being the plot of Amsterdam. Starring Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, who has he made a good movie other than Black Klansman? Maybe The Creator?
No. No.
I don't think so.
I want John David Washington to succeed. Make him Bond.
He was in Tenet, which was not good. And he's
Good
in
not.
the piano. He's in the piano lesson with Samuel L. Jackson. So that could be an interesting.
And he was
An
on
interesting
Broadway with him too, right?
Yeah, they did
So he's-
Broadway first.
So that's come on. That's
I
gotta be
like
good.
that they're doing a bunch of August Wilson movies. I think that that's a great thing to do.
I do too, as long as they remember to direct them like movies and not like film stage plays, which has been my problem
Hard.
with most of them.
Yeah, it's hard.
Also
Good
starring
stories.
Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Rock, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, Caroline's favorite actor Rami Malek, Zoe Saldana, Robert De Niro, and somebody named Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift in it for 30 seconds. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's like 30 to like 5 minutes. 30 seconds to 5 minutes.
Spoiler alert. Fast forward if you don't want us to ruin one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, Amsterdam. Taylor Swift gets hit by a car and dies really, really quickly.
Kind of like David O. Russell's career, but
David O. Russell, to me, is... there are movies of his that I really do like. I rewatched Silver Linings Playbook recently. I think that movie holds up. I think it's a really good movie and made stars out of the right two people. I think that American Hustle was confusing and made no sense, but at least had some style. And Amsterdam was if American Hustle had no style.
Yeah, it was devoid of anything. It's tough to... I struggled watching it knowing like what Amy Adams has said about her experience filming American Hustle and knowing the allegations against David O. Russell and how he's likely sexually assaulted
A
her
terrible
niece.
person. Terrible
I think it's
person.
beyond allegations at this point.
Yeah. Which also I watched all but the last 20. I don't know what happened on Max. I got to the last 20 minutes of the movie and suddenly it was no longer on Max.
No, that's how the
And I
movie
watched-
ends. The movie ends by just disappearing from existence.
I watched the first 20 minutes and I was going to watch the rest yesterday and it was also gone.
Nope.
So
Doesn't matter. That's the movie. That's the movie, Ethan. David O. Russell, I think I Heart Huckabees is a masterpiece. Other than that, he can go fuck off.
did you not like Silver Linings Playbook? Am I alone?
No, I didn't like. I thought it was really annoying. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is great. Bradley Cooper's fine. Robert De Niro is doing his thing. I think it's a fucking annoying movie. I think they should all shut the fuck up. I think Joy is bullshit. I think Amsterdam's bad. Three Kings is fine because I watch it going, hey, that's Spike Jonze. He's acting. I love him. I think I Heart Huckabees is a masterpiece. I think The Fighter's good. And other than that, you can just go
I'm
fuck
surprised you don't like Silver Linings Playbook. I
It's
feel like
fine.
that's...
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Wow.
It's fine.
What else was nominated Silver Linings Playbook year?
I don't think it was the best movie of the year, but I think that it was like the right. It made those two people stars. It's cool to see what Jennifer Lawrence was doing before she became such a massive star, and it got the comedy and drama. It hit the right tone for me. It was funny where it was funny. It was serious where it's serious. I think that movie works.
You know what is funny talking about Silver Linings Playbook? It was Les Mis year, going back to Tom Hooper.
Talk about choices.
Talk about choices. Argo won Best Picture. Jennifer was nominated against Jessica Chastain, Zero Dark 30.
Oh shit! Jessica Chastain should have won.
I know. Zero Dark 30.
Zero Dark 30
ruled.
is amazing.
It's such a good movie. Emmanuel Riva in Amour, Quivisionne Wallace in Beasts of the Southern Wild. She was incredible in that. And Naomi Watts in The Impossible, the tsunami movie.
I mean, Amour is a pretty fascinating movie too, by the way. What a weird Oscar year that was. I think I take for granted that the Oscars are quote unquote fixed and we have like really interesting winners. When I look back at Argo being a Best Picture, can we commit to watching every Oscar movie and talking about it on this podcast?
This year.
Not just like for the rest of our lives. I don't know.
Yeah. What else? What else am I
How
supposed
about
to do?
by May 22nd, 2025, we have to watch every single Oscar movie
Ever? Norbit for best makeup?
No, Best Picture winner. Not.
Taylor, pick better movies. Pick better movies, Taylor.
Those are okay. Now I'm gonna go back to my question that started the podcast, which is Taylor Swift a good actress? Here is my answer. It doesn't matter. She is not about her acting. She is more than that. She is a publicity piece. Everything she does brings her to the next step in her career. Like I said, when I think back to these movies, I don't think of her acting, but I do think of her. It's not about the acting. One other thing I'd like to point out, unlike some other musicians that I see, Taylor Swift is not listed as self in her IMDb for her music videos. She is listed as actress playing Taylor Swift in her music videos. I dare say she is a good actress because she is playing Taylor Swift. She is playing this superstar who is now the most powerful person in the world. Every step of the way, she could have an acting coach who can make her the next, let's say, Beyonce in Dreamgirls, or J-Lo in U-Turn, or Selena, or what's another? Let's say Britney Spears in Crossroads. No,
Mandy Moore.
Mandy Moore in
Walk to Remember.
Yeah. Mandy Moore is probably the best of that bunch, huh?
Yeah, I was just listening to. She was on Lustful Choices this week talking about her acting career, and it was
Taylor Swift could do that stuff, but she doesn't need to because her campiness, her bad, quote unquote, bad acting in movies only stretches this persona of Taylor Swift, who is the most powerful human being in the world right now. That's my answer, is she is a good actress because she knows exactly how to get herself to the next point. She's beyond acting.
She's beyond all of it at this point. She's the most famous person in the world and seems to have been for the past 15 years. I just think that she can pick better movies to pop up in. Imagine if she was cameoed in Bridesmaids, or cameoed in, I guess I'm thinking like Paul Feig movies, cameoed in The Heat or Spy. Something that lets her bring the energy she brought in Valentine's Day, which was maybe the funniest part of that whole movie, and play upon a type. I just want her to show up as herself or show up as a cameo in a good movie, not a garbage movie.
So I guess the next question, because she has a directing deal. So like, is she going to direct herself? Like in this, like, what do we say? Is it going to be something that like is an adaptation?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope she doesn't direct herself, but the Midnight's music videos were very interesting and very visually appealing, and I am excited to see what she can do.
Well, she was supposed to direct Amsterdam before David O. Russell threw her under a car and took over the movie.
And I like the All Too Well 10-minute short film.
Yeah, it's good.
I liked her in New Girl, where she popped up during a wedding.
So that's a good example. Like, she should pop up in other stuff, not as herself, but I don't know. I just think that she can select better stuff to be in for 30 seconds than a David O. Russell garbage.
You heard it here first. Ethan thinks Taylor Swift's agents are doing a horrible job and thinks that he should take over to get her to the next level. Is that what you're saying? Also, Ethan wants to end wokeness. That's the other thing he wants me to say. So... My favorite part of this podcast is when I cut you off and just talk for you. Anyway, any final words on Taylor Swift's acting career?
There's nothing like Taylor can do that's gonna like knock her down. So I'm thrilled if she has an opportunity to have fun doing these other projects where she gets to be Taylor Swift directed by someone else. Great. I'm just thrilled as long as Taylor's having fun, I'm having fun.
Is Taylor Swift having fun?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are our thoughts on Taylor Swift. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? I hate doing this part. Ethan,
do it
you
again.
Do this part. No, you do it.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast where we discussed Taylor Swift and her acting career. If you agree or if you disagree, or you just want to share your thoughts, please email us, Instagram us, come to our front doors. We want to hear from you.
There is nothing behind your eyes. I am looking at you, and there's just there's nothingness in your eyes right now. You just went into a fugue state that scared the shit out of me. This is
an audio
Late Night
medium,
with the
so
Devil
no one
stuff
will
right
know.
here. This is a podcast with the devil starring Ethan Krupp. I do want to bring something up quickly. If you listen to our Oscar reaction show, it featured a friend of ours named Oliver Berger. Not only was that the least listened to episode we've ever had, it also got us our first 1-star review. So if you like this podcast, if you listen to this podcast, please rate, please review us. If we get 10 5-star reviews this week, we promise we will never have Oliver on this podcast ever again. That is our pledge to you. Thank you.
And what a contribution to society that will be.
Please, can we make that's the Instagram cut?
Yeah.
Do we want to do anything with the March Sisters Madness?
Don't we have to take the next step, or should we finish it
And
next
now
week?
it is time for round 2 of March Sisters Madness. We've had people message us on Instagram, email us, and I think we are ready to make our choices. These are...
I do have a correction from last week. For my friend, listener of the pod, Jonathan Johnson, when I said that Haley Joel Osment's sister was in Polly, that was incorrect. It's actually Jesse Eisenberg's sisters, Haley Eisenberg and Polly. Haley Joel Osment's sister is in Hannah Montana.
Fake news is a big issue right now, and Caroline would like to apologize for being a harbinger of fake news. March Sisters Madness, we're doing the films of Florence Pugh versus Emma Watson versus Saoirse Ronan versus Eliza Scanlon versus Kirsten Dunst versus Claire Danes versus Winona Ryder versus Trini Alvarado. We are on to round 2. So we have Midsommar versus Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Lady Bird versus Old, Bring It On versus Romeo and Juliet, and Edward Scissorhands versus Polly, a movie I rewatched this week. And I'm on the Polly Hive, y'all.
No.
Yes!
Polly Hive flocked together. All right, let's kick it off. First off, Midsommar versus Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This is actually a hard one for me. Ethan, what do you think?
I think that Midsommar is the better movie, but I will admit that I have seen Harry Potter many more times than I will ever watch Midsommar.
So you're voting to move on Midsommar?
No, I'm not even voting. Are we voting yet? Is this a voting thing?
Yes, this
I
is
have
a
to
voting
vote?
thing. You have to vote.
I vote for Midsommar.
Caroline.
I vote for Harry Potter because it shifts the entire tone of the movie series. And I thought it's the first one that really takes it from, oh, this is a kid series about kids having fun, into now we're addressing all these more complicated themes. Sirius Black is introduced. We're getting very fun. Like it's the one that I remember, like all the visual choices that they make, like with the newspaper, and you see Sirius Black on it. And yeah, and we meet the hippogriffs. I'm Prisoner of Azkaban.
The listeners picked Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I pick Midsommar. I think it is a flawless movie. I think it is a perfect character study of grief, and I think it made Florence Pugh that much more of an actress. I love that movie. I do agree Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is the best of the Harry Potter series. I think it stretches, I think it gets a little boring-ish about halfway through the second act. Of course, Midsommar has act issues as well, but my vote's Midsommar. So how do we break this tie?
Do we rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah. Ethan versus Caroline.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
And Ethan threw down scissors. Caroline threw down paper. I just realized this is the worst medium to play rock, paper, scissors. Midsommar wins and is moving on. Sorry, Harry Potter Hive. Go play with your wands. Next up, we have Lady Bird versus Old. I'm not even going to go around. Lady Bird moves on. Sorry.
I think that the other reason is that we can have a real good conversation next week about Midsommar versus Lady Bird, and I don't think we could have as good of a conversation about Harry Potter versus Lady Bird.
I agree. Bring It On versus Romeo and Juliet.
All right. I'm ready to go to bat for Bring It On. And why it must
Going to the mat.
I'm going to the mat. I'm going to bat. I'm going to a spirit stick. It is Bring It On. That movie has stood the test of time. Again, as I said last week, it does an incredible job talking about cultural appropriation in a time we were not discussing it. So many lines still to this day. And I still know the opening cheer. So I'm ready to, but I'm holding off on that until next week when I battle, because I do think Bring It On is going to win.
Ethan.
I was about to say, do it and you get my vote, but I'm obviously voting for Bring It On as well. That movie is amazing.
The audience and I both say Bring It On. Bring It On moves on. Sorry, Romeo and Juliet Hive. Dolph. That's it. That's all I'm going to say is Dolph. Edward, I couldn't think of a Shakespeare line.
In Romeo and Juliet defense, Harold Perrineau in drag in that movie is like such a formative image in my brain when he comes out on the stage to Young Hearts. Oh, that's a great moment.
Edward Scissorhands versus Polly. Ethan, we know where you're going to vote. Just go ahead and say it.
I vote for Edward Scissorhands, one of the most romantic and interesting and unique visions of a movie that I have ever seen. Please don't vote for Polly.
Caroline.
Squawk.
No.
All right, well, One second. I need to see something. Edward Scissorhands. Okay, Edward Scissorhands has more awards than Polly. Edward Scissorhands was nominated for an Oscar. What was it nominated for?
Probably makeup or costuming.
Yeah, best makeup. Stan Winston. Hey, flashing back to our horror episode. Let me give you some quotes here. Polly says, "It's a long story." Misha says, "I'm Russian. I like long stories." This is pure comedy. Polly says, "Hit the brakes, ugly." Betty says, "Oh, that's cute. You train the bird to insult your customers?" Polly says, "No, I could tell you're ugly all by myself." See, do we really want to deprive the world of quotes as great as this? Fine. Edward Scissorhands moves on.
Oh, no!
The audience agrees. It's Edward Scissorhands. Sorry, Caroline. Polly Hive has given up on us. Also,
walk no more.
For the record, the reason I'm doing this is not because I am not a fan of the movie Polly, which I rewatched this week, and I recommend you rewatch because you'll realize how fucking annoying the movie Polly is. The joke of me pushing along Polly quickly ended when I realized how fucking annoying that fucking bird is, and that bird should shut the fuck up and get hit by a car like a David O. Russell movie. But also, just the challenge of Bring It On versus Edward Scissorhands is going to be really good. So,
yeah, I need to go rewatch Bring It On this week.
We have Bring It On versus Edward Scissorhands on one side, and Midsommar and Lady Bird on the other. I'm going to say the three of us have to watch all four movies and really be ready to talk about it next week. Caroline just gave me the worst face ever. Be ready to talk about it next week. As Caroline's giving mischievous, I'm not going to watch it face. Caroline's giving you can't tell me what to do face, and it's really funny.
I'll reread the plot to Midsommar.
Read the screenplay.
All right. That's our show, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. I just got a text saying we have to wrap it up. That's why I quickly went into that. And as always, Ethan, you're a very good podcast host.
Thanks, Eli. That's really nice
But
of you to say.
Beyonce's better.
What?
I thought you were going to say Ethan is friends with Scooter Braun. That's what I thought we were going to...
Why would they be friends with Scooter Braun?
All right, we'll go with that. Ethan's friends with Scooter Braun. Bye.
No.
See y'all.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I'm going to let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time